So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this notion of safe spaces and having building some common language, right? So one of the complaints that I've heard from people, and I don't know if complaints is probably the right word to use, but I've heard people say, well, given the notion of a cancel culture, which I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I don't feel like I can say anything. And, quite frankly, I see that way of thinking as kind of a cop out. Right. And I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I just think that as new technologies come, they require us to think and act differently and behave differently. Right. So it is interesting to me that I have most recently I bought a new car. And for most of my life, I have purchased cars cash. Not wanting to have a loan, a car payment, so I bought them cash. And it was very interesting to me, this last car that I bought, brand new car, had to get a loan and, all these things. And I went to get in the car to start it, and I couldn't figure out how to start the car. And so I called the salesman over and said, I see you gave me some keys, but how do I start this car? And the salesman was really genuine, nice, polite guy. He said, actually, all you have to do is hit the brake and then push this button. And I was like, what? So, again, I buy late model cars. All the cars I had keys, and you put them in and you turn, and then you're off and going. But this car required me to use a different set of skills to do something differently. And I could complain about this car, but I will have you know that all of the cars that are that model and to our current day have the same feature. And so I could complain about that and say, well, I want keys that were like my whatever car. But that wouldn't do me much good, right? And so when people say, well, I don't know what to call people, I think that might be an ineffective way of approaching the challenges that we face today. Right, that might not be effective. Something that I have found to be more effective is really asking, what is the purpose of my communication in the first place? And so then we recognize, and people will say, well, I can't talk about religion at work. Not true. They'll say, I can't talk about my political standings at work. Not true. People will say, I can't talk about my gender or my gender identity without offending someone. Not true. I can't talk about, did I say religion? I think I said religion already, right? Yeah, so those things are not true. It's not that you can't talk about them, because a big part of who I am is what I do on the weekends, right? Where I choose to worship and how I choose to worship is important. My political engagements are important, and they're an important part of who I am. And so I think it's important to be able to talk about those things, right? The real challenge isn't in can you talk about those things? It's how you talk about those things. What is the goal of your communication around those things? So if I am proselytizing my political views or my religious standing or my identity and condemning and all of these other things, then that is an inappropriate activity that drives us away from the goals of the organization. However, if I'm sharing those things to build community, to to share on an even playing field with other folks, then how I talk about those things becomes the tool for unity, becomes the tool for engagement and understanding and education, which is right in line with all the goals of the organization. So it's not so much that we can't talk about things, it's how we talk about those things. What is our goal for talking about those things? And so as long as we are in a position to align ourselves with the goals of the organization, we can talk about those difficult things. And it's important to understand that these become the foundations for creating safe spaces and coming up with a common language. So my name is Andre Koen. I want to say thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next unit.